I'm now just going to explain some different ways of getting projects in. First, which is just going to remove some of this grouping so that it's less on the screen. Is just very simply right-clicking, adding a project. If I want to enter something through the UI itself, we'll now see that project exists under my program, which I've called Research Projects. At the moment, that just exists ready to have further information brought in about it, so its schedule and its budgets. Through the RFQ and also through some discussions last time we were here, we understood that template entry might be something that is useful for your users. So as an example here, we've just mocked up a basic project template. So to capture the kind of information that you want to bring in about a project up front. So some basic information, budgets, start dates, and tasks. I'm just going to show you this so you understand how it works, but users wouldn't see this. That maps through to an import. The power of that is that we can build these imports to map through to all sorts of things within FutureAct. So today we're just going to use that to import this basic project. So if I return to, this is where it's sitting at the moment. I'm just going to pick up my tool. Ninth, yep. Submit it, and my project now exists over here with the details that I've brought in, and that's now ready to go. And say, for example, I had a real flurry of activity and I've got to bring in 20 projects or 100 or whatever the case may be. Today I've just done 20. That same tool can be used to bring in multiples at once. I've now got 20 projects sitting under my research program.
So if you were to update that template and then import it, that just updates your information like that?
Yeah, we'd have to understand exactly how you wanted to configure that part of it, but it's really powerful in how you can work offline, and then you might be needing to build in business rules offline to determine dates or particular tasks that should be associated with project types, and then take all of that out of the user's control, I guess, if you're trying to be consistent about things, and bring that in automatically.
So one of the key usability issues that we've faced with doing a lot of CRCs has been the fact that they have to create projects often in multiple formats with multiple descriptions for different clients externally and internally. So one of the key things we developed was a way that we can have any sort of template. So it could be a GRDC template, it could be a pork template, and as long as the data fields are consistent with your own internal requirements, it doesn't matter what template they use. They can use the template and do it once, and then it meets all requirements from there on. So they don't have to double or triple or quadruple copy and cut things up. It can manage that on their behalf. So we saw that as a significant. And then the second thing we could do in that, because the Excel can be made quite smart, we can build a whole lot of business rules into it. So if you have a standard sort of project that goes for a known series of time and has a series of known tasks, etc., and they pick that template shell, that can all pre-fill in for them. So it gets very simple for them to actually set up something that's similar to what they've done. And if it's very brand new, they'll have to rethink some of those fields through. But again, according to the type of project, we can build up a library that says, well, here's a typical grains project, or here's a typical large animal trial, or a pasture trial project, or whatever the research funder is. And they can create or update those things on the fly. Any questions on that? And the bulk one, we really was there to demonstrate that when you're a central group of people who have to update data, or they get fed a whole lot of information from a core external researcher, they can do that update in bulk. They don't have to go in manually and do one, or they can go, here's the suite, we'll update it, or now update the system, and all that information is then immediately available.
So the customisation of those templates is built into the cost of the project method?
Yep. Now, we don't know how many you've got. We sort of guessed at what they are, but in our, if we're successful, in the early stages, it was really to sit down with you and spec out what's required. Quite often, a lot of the customisation as you go along will be able to be done by internal people. You know, once we show them how the mapping sheet works, it's not that complex. Some of the intelligence that you can build into the spreadsheets gets more complex, and that'll be a combination of us helping some of your team to do it.
So, for example, I guess the thing that comes to mind straight off from a partnerships and programs point of view would be submitting funding proposals. We could have a template that actually meets, you know.
Like at the moment we've got 20 projects being prepared for MLA that are being initially drafted in Word documents and then copied and pasted in. We could just have that done in one go.
Yeah, you could.
And you could load them all, bulk load them, and possibly, and then just submit them to.
Correct. And then the idea of the system is they move through your process of evaluation first and decide what you want to approve, and then they get to the next stage of becoming a formal contract. You can do the updates via the same process. So you can have a second template that imports the same material that's already been entered into it, and then they update the extra fields and then resubmit it. And again, that takes the project to the next stage. So they don't, the whole idea is to minimise overhead in that space.
How does the budget cost staff budgeting occur? Like we have to budget out our salaries.
Yep. So there are a couple of ways we've thought of doing that. The first off, we expect to hold as resources all staff members and their salary cost, so that when a template's selected, it would pull that information into it, and then in the template you go, pick researcher A, B, C, D. The information is hidden in the background. We want them for X period of time. It creates the budget. So when I talk about smarts in the templates, all those things can be done with it because it's a two-way traffic system. You can get very clever, or you can get very simple with it. It's enormously powerful.
And then that background information will be updated from SAP when we get to
that's
or
the
the
next
finance
one,
system, wherever we're getting to.
And then you need to optimise it to have your equity, and then you play around with your splits.
Well, that can be added to the template.
Well, there's some of the how to manage the system that
He's
we've got to
gaming
build
the
in.
system. Pretty sure it's gaming the system.
Yeah. He's jumping ahead too, because I'm just noticing that that's something that's about to go down.
Yes,
Oh, look.
slow down.
How it works.
We've had to build into the system these anti-gaming. Siren comes up, we've caught it. But from our background, the big messages that we get a lot of the time is the amount of administration overhead that's being pushed onto project managers and project teams. And if we can reduce that, then we encourage enormous buy-in, so their life becomes simpler, and their ability to update or report or whatever, simpler that is, then we get consistency across everyone in terms of getting everyone able to enter information and able to use and able to access it.